This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another morning here in Djuma, Sabi Sands, Greater Kruger National Park. My name is Steve Falconbridge. I'm joined on camera by Sebastian Rombi, and it is a fresh 11 degrees Celsius and 52 degrees Fahrenheit. It is fantastic. We're excited. Woke up this morning, walked to FC, which is final control, and there were leopard tracks right next to the door, right next to our camp, walking in and out of FC. We think it's Osana. Tristan has gone around to where he last had Osana last night. He's crossed back towards camp. And Herbert Korza is back, and he's on bushwalk with Ralph Kirsten. And they are on the tracks. And knowing Osana, he's probably just right there, up a tree, very close to the dam. Anyway, fantastic. We are out. Please send through your questions or comments. Hashtag SafariLive or follow us on YouTube stream. Let us know what you'd like to find or talk about this morning. I'm going to get moving. We had a nice little spur file frame a moment ago, but didn't want to stick around. He was all fluffed up, all his down feathers as fluffed up as possible. It is a much colder today than it was yesterday. Might be. Anyway, it is cold, but a lovely cold. Not too bone chilling, is it, Seb? Sorry about that picture breakup. A little bit of gremlins in the morning. It's that cold that the gremlins are out and about. Okay, well, while we get through these gremlins and see what we can find, let's go over to Tristan Dix for an update. Well, good morning, everybody, and hopefully Steve will get over the gremlins and we'll have a situation where, well, he'll be able to join us for more of the drive. But we are out and about, and as Steve mentioned, my name is Tristan. On camera, I've got David, and it's a very warm welcome to all of you on this vehicle, Wendy. Now, we are trying to see if we can find Hosana. And so we've got squirrels going crazy in this area, and his tracks are absolutely everywhere. He came out of the area where we had Thandi and him last night, and Thandi was giving him a very hard time. The poor boy just wanted to walk away, and every time he walked away, she'd run after him and growl at him. She didn't ever get physical or try and swipe at him or anything like that, but it was just a situation where he was just trying to get away from her, and she just didn't let up at all. And it was interesting because they would lie very close together, about 10 meters apart, and just kind of sit there, and she would have this low grumble, and Hosana would just really not phase at all. And I had to laugh. At one point, he got so bored of being sitting there and being kept in one place that it was then time to play with sticks, and he was biting sticks and playing with them and running up and down, and Thandi was not in the mood for play at all, and she didn't really like it. But like I said, there is a squirrel alarm calling here, and we had tracks walking right past our FC and then through the lodge and down towards this area. So I wonder if he's not going back down towards the dam again. That's why I'm trying to just have a look around and see maybe I can spot him somewhere in this long grass, these trees. I know he likes these kind of areas, and so it's possible that he's just curled up somewhere here and resting after his sister gave him a hard time last night and made him do a lot more exercise than he probably has done in the last 2 weeks. As we know, he hasn't really been very far from the pan itself, so it'll be interesting to see how it all works out. Yes, he does need to work off his Impala. We don't want him to get a little fat belly. We want him to be in good shape and a healthy young male. Now, the thing is his tracks cut off here. There's no sign of him coming down. No, I say that, but here the tracks are again. So he's walking straight down here, and it looks like he's going towards the pan again. So he should be... I wonder if he's not just here somewhere and we missed him. I did come past here just now, but it was still very dark when we came past. Is he still here somewhere? Curled up in a little ball. Maybe he's in his little thicket, David. Let's scan with our thermal and see what we can get. It's always a good thing to do, but I think he might be somewhere here again. His tracks come straight here, so if he's not here, I would be very, very surprised. Now, I'm just trying to see. So it could be that he's just lying in a little long grass patch. We know he does do this, and the other day we came here and we actually really struggled to find him. It was not easy to see him at all. He was kind of hidden incredibly well, and we almost drove past him. So I was hoping that maybe I would have picked him up, but I don't see anything at this stage. It's not in his usual spots by the looks of things, so maybe he continued on or went somewhere else. We'll just have to double check. Now there's the flare. You can see it's busy trying to see a little hot spot. So what David does with this and how it works is that he'll take it and scan around, and that scanning helps us to be able to pick up any heat signature on the cold ground. So the ground is much colder. You can see it's this purple kind of color, and then he'll go along, and if there is an animal, it will show up a nice bright orange hotspot. The problem is the trees are also quite bright, so you've got to be a bit careful with that, because sometimes you can get a little caught out by the trees itself. So we'll just have a little look around here and just see. I'm hoping that he is just lying up somewhere, or maybe what he did is just came past the dam and just headed southwards towards Twin Dams. I was saying to Steve it's going to be a good idea just to see Twin Dams and have a little look around and double check. But isn't that a beautiful view? That's the pan. The sun is about to rise. It looks like it's going to be the most wonderful morning. It should have a bit of relief from the cold. It is very cold this morning. It's not very pleasant at all. It's about 11 degrees Celsius, so about 50 degrees Fahrenheit, and that is not very pleasant to be out in an open vehicle. So thoroughly looking forward to that sun rising and coming up. Oh, there's a sound of a hyena calling as well, somewhere on quarantine, which is quite nice. Anyway, it's not just myself and Steve. Ralph is also out. He's with Herbie this morning on a walk, and they're also trying to find any signs for Hosanna.
Well, everyone, good morning and a very warm welcome. Well, I say warm, but it's very chilly this morning. So a very chilly, warm welcome to the bushwalk. We're coming to you live from the Djuma Traverse, the Greater Kruger National Park of South Africa. My name is Ralph Kirsten, and on the camera this morning, I've got Senzo with me. Easy and Keezy helping me there, and Herbie is just scouting out in front, because we've had lots of movement of seemingly Hosanna moving around camp in the early hours of this morning. So we're trying to just isolate exactly which way he went last, because the tracks are walking around and we don't know exactly which ones are the freshest. So we are trying to just ascertain which ones we need to follow. Now please don't forget to send us your questions and your comments on the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter and on the YouTube live chat, because we'd love for you to be involved in this interactive bushwalk. Now, we're just coming down a little drainage line that runs just next to our camp, and Herbie's just gone ahead. Just ahead of us here is where Gallagher Pan is, so there's a lot of movement. As you would have seen yesterday evening, as Tristan was telling you, the leopards were around, and Thandi and Hosanna were interacting with each other, brother and sister family love or feud. Well, it's quite interesting to see what has been going on with those leopards. Now, so it's a bit of a team effort there. I think Tristan and the guys will be looking on their side with the vehicle, but with us on foot, we can at least follow the tracks a little bit better. And as I say, a little bit of a stream running through here with the pan on the other side. We're just going to try our best to check the tracks and find out which exact way he has gone. So we're going to spend a little bit of time with our noses to the ground, and it seems like I'm not the only one doing that.
Nose to the ground. I wish we could track like that. I wish we could actually physically find animals by using our noses. That would be fantastic. There's tracks of a rhinoceros moving in the road there, just over my right shoulder, and they most certainly can follow each other on the road. There you can see the toes. There's the foot. There's the right foot. And 3 toes. And when rhino moves, they walk with their nose very close to the ground, and they can smell everything that's going on. Hence why they use so much sensory sort of smells in their communication. The rhino middens, and they rub it on their feet, and when they walk, it leaves a scent trail behind them, which lasts for days. I remember doing a walk once and seeing a rhino in the distance, and then moving across a pathway to get up onto some rocks. And we must have waited 45 minutes to an hour. The wind was quite strong that day, and it was quite incredible that the rhino, as they got to the trail where we'd crossed the path, 45 minutes to an hour after we'd crossed it, we just walked across it, it stopped, it smelt, and it knew we'd walked there. I find that incredible, absolutely incredible. Picked up its nose and it had an idea that something wasn't quite right about the smell on the area. Very, very cool. Very amazing sense of smell. Most people don't even know the difference between certain foods. Animals can pick up everything. But when you got nostrils this big, I suppose, and if you use your nostrils for survival, DG, we are out of power. I don't know, Eskom, our sort of national governing electricity board, is down. And I don't know whether there's a generator running. I wasn't able to charge my phone. The plugs were a bit sporadic and the light was kind of doing one of these weird things. So I don't want to plug any of my electrical appliances in. And how we are broadcasting, you know, I get paid, DG, to drive this vehicle and to talk a whole lot of nonsense. And how all of that stuff works, well, I don't really know. But apparently there's power, otherwise you wouldn't be seeing us. But I think FC's got all the power. Then there's all sorts of backups and batteries and weird and wonderful things that people like Alex and Conrad could probably talk to you for days. Sorry, I really don't know. But obviously we do have power, and it is working. And have we missed a day where there's been no power? Has there been a day where SafariLive has said, sorry, we can't come to you because there's no power? I don't think that's happened, has it?
No, I don't think so either.
No? Because Wild Earth loves to bring you the animals, and Wild Earth loves to talk about the earth, you see. We're constantly doing it, every day. There's even a catchy tune to that we heard recently. Very catchy. Lou's busy singing it in my ear right now. Okay, well, we are going to go down and check. Oh, here we go. Okay, well, we found a track here. This is Tingana's track. I'm going to assume it's heading this way. Headed directly south, Twin Dams Road. It's a nice sort of way for him to move. You probably can't get a very good angle from there with the light, but it's fresh. It's on top of these elephant tracks from yesterday, and on top of that rhino that was here. And I know I drove this road last night, so those tracks were very fresh. And Tingana was calling, apparently. Tristan said he kept him up most of the night, calling. So we're going to follow these and see if we can come right. But in the meantime, let's go over and see how Tristan is doing with his tracking.
Well, my tracking is being very confusing because Hosana's tracks come straight towards the dam, and I've now just found another set of tracks here, but I'm not sure if this is for Hosana or if this is for Tingana, but I'll show you where they are here. Is on my right hand side there is some tracks on the road here. So this whole section here is where a leopard stood on the ground. You can see his little bum mark there, and his legs, or his feet. You've got back paws, front paws, and they're all kind of sitting in a, and it turns and then walks out and away. So something kind of caught its attention and it then moved off. Now this could be Hosana. The last tracks I had on the other side were going straight towards the pan, and then it looks as though he maybe just cut straight across and then came here by some miracle. I see he kind of came around like this and has gone down into the Mulwati system. So I'm going to just try and check around here. I wonder if this isn't... They look a bit like they could be Tingana's tracks, and maybe, just maybe, Tingana also walked here. Oh, it's difficult. There's so many tracks from last night because there's so many leopards around that it makes life a little bit tricky. But I think this is Hosana going into the drainage here, which will be interesting to see. I have a funny feeling Steve might find him at Twin Dams. That's what I'm thinking. I know Hosana, if he goes south, that's where he normally heads towards, is Twin Dams. He likes that area, and so I wonder if maybe that's where he's gone. We'll also just have to check around. He does sometimes lie in the background behind the dam wall in this little drainage here. It's a nice place for him to spend a bit of time, so we'll just get onto these tracks and have a little look. What I'm going to do is just go down There's a little 2-track that goes down into this drainage. We'll just go into there and we'll hopefully then pick up his tracks there. If he did walk that direction, he would have carried on and eventually got onto that situation. Oh wait, I see tracks on the road here, hold on. So here the tracks are here, also going southwards. Okay, well, we've got his tracks now, so let's see how we go with these and see what happens. And while we do that, let's send you back across to Ralph, who I believe is at a pan of his own, but on the other side of the property.
Yes, I've come out here, as I said, to Gallagher Pan and just obviously checking to see what has been down to the water to have a drink. And I'm just walking around the side of it here, and you can probably see from up there this quite wetness next to the water hole here. And the elephants have been around, and they're the ones that would have splashed the water on the outside there. Maybe one or two of them actually went into the water, and so you can see during the night they've actually had a bit of fun here. But walking around, I can see there's been some warthogs that have come down for a drink, maybe a little bit of a wallow as well. Not so long ago, some buffalo. There's also some impala tracks here, quite a lot of impala tracks, I must say. So there's been a few of them in here. And then coming along, lots of wetness here, where the elephants were probably playing here. And I can hear some grey go-away birds just doing a little bit of alarm calling. So possibly the Hosanna has maybe moved off over there. So we're going to head in that direction maybe shortly. We'll see. I'll chat with Herbie and see what he thinks. Here's some nice, fresh, small elephant dung. So the little baby here. So I would imagine it was a breeding herd. And, well, as I say, lots of water that's been thrown out here. And I can see a couple of big elephant tracks over there. But none of their dung. Those little ones over there, that would be from a little baby elephant. A very small one indeed. And it's quite fresh. And it's still rather wet here. Very muddy. Now, Tim, I think if the elephants did a cannonball dive into here, they would have hurt themselves because it's very shallow. Yeah, and it's also very cold. So I don't know, maybe these guys were playing around almost like polar bears in the fresh water. And coming along, I can see some hyena tracks here as well as some bushbuck. So lots of activity, hey? And if we had to sit and watch this waterhole, we'd also see all sorts of animals pitching up. But I think it's time that we head out a little bit in the direction maybe of these alarm calls. I don't see that this cat has, well, the one that we're trying to find, Mr. Hosanna, has had a drink here this morning. Now, reptilian research, I don't think that this might have started as a little natural pan, but at the moment it has been sort of artificially hollowed out with some concrete. So they do just make this as a permanent little water hole when it dries up in winter like it has now. They just make sure that these animals do have a point to drink from, much like the other water hole at Voyatella Dam. So, excuse me, at this time of year, these little pans with water in become very frequented by the animals, and so it's often very easy to come around and pick up on the tracks of a leopard and follow it, or whatever you might be looking for, like the lions as well. I heard that there were some lions heard on the dam cam, but unfortunately with the lions, their call travels so far that might have even been off on Buffels Hook, so many kilometers. So it doesn't matter that we heard them. It might still have been very far. So I think just for this morning, we've got very fresh tracks of the male leopard, seemingly a Hosanna. And I love this start of the morning type stuff because it's now all exciting. Steve's out looking for tracks on his side. What's his name? Tristan, thank you, Zenzo. Tristan's also on them, and I'm also on them. So it's lovely. It's like that anticipation. Where have they gone? What have they done? And that's what I love in this fresh part of the morning. And it gets the heart pumping and keeps the hands warm because we're on the move. And I'm going to do exactly that.
Thanks, Ralph. Fresh tracks in the morning are very, very special. And these are not as big as I originally thought. The substrate is a bit soft, so I don't think they're Tinganas from the size. So I'm going to assume that they're most likely a Hosana or another male leopard of smaller stature than Tingana. They've now headed directly west along this road, and we're heading towards Treehouse Dam. This is a favorite. It's a favorite little area for Hosana. He loves this little drainage line here. I've spent a lot of time with him here, followed him through here. I'm just going to keep our eyes open and see where his tracks go to. It's a lovely area for a leopard to be. Tall trees, thickets, steenbok and duikers, and, well, not really steenbok, but nyalas like to hide in here, impala as well. They know it. They know it. Okay, well, this is quite a difficult section to track on, but he's either gone through there into the drainage or he's kept on the road and is following. Angie, it takes a lot of practice, I must tell you. Tingana's got enormous feet. Tingana looks like a small lion, and Hosana's got very nice sort of male tracks. They're not very big, they're a lot smaller than Tingana's. The ladies' tracks are very delicate, and just because of the areas we spend time in, we get used to knowing what areas those animals are in and where we might have seen them, and depending on where they're coming from. You know, when I came here, I would never say an individual. I would just say I've got tracks of a male or female. That's quite easy to identify, or tracks of a young male. But because you start spending time and you're in a specific area, you can start sort of guessing and adding a bit of value to the name. But a male leopard tracks get up to 10 centimeters in length. The front foot is very wide, the toes are very splayed out like that, whereas the females are very little and delicate and just dainty, you know, as females' feet are compared to males. Okay, well, I don't have anything on the road at the moment. There's a very good chance he walked through that depression. He does love walking through there, but I've circled the last spot where we had tracks, so if we don't find him coming out, we can always go back to that area and see if we can follow up any further. Daniel, yeah, that's a very good question. Daniel, 14 years old. No, I think humans are the only species in the world that look at footprints on the ground. But the interesting thing about it is that hyena, lion, leopard, I've seen all of them, rhino as well, will track each other or will track interspecies. Like hyena will follow leopard, lion will follow each other, all sorts of these predators will follow each other by smell. They can smell the ground and they can smell where they walked. As I mentioned a little while ago about the rhino picking up my feet after 45 minutes of a windy day on the ground, these animals know exactly what's going on. They can walk along, they can smell on the ground. You see lions often following, you know, say young lion's lost its family, they follow the trail on the ground of their feet. I would love to be able to do that. We haven't quite gotten that far yet. You know, sometimes you can smell your dad's t-shirt and you know, oh, that's my dad. Or the bed your parents sleep in, you know that smell very, very well. And there's a small animal in the drainage there, Seb, just to the left. A little duiker. And Tandi, we've seen, and Shadulu, two females, we've seen them many times sniffing through the undergrowth trying to find these animals. Because these animals do have a scent to them. They're very camouflaged and very secretive. And we see Tandi moving and actually following them through the smell that they leave behind. So no, not that I know of. I don't think any animal looks on the ground for a footprint. They physically sniff. We use our scientific brain to analyze one track to the next. And to put add a little bit of value on there by going, okay, well, the animal is walking in that direction, and that direction we've got a drainage line, and on the other side of the drainage line we've got a dam, and chances are the animal was walking towards the water. So we can put those assumptions on there. It's all about thinking. It's all about the art of tracking, they reckon, is where the scientific mind developed. And by using our brain that way, we were able to become the animal, and after a period of time find the animal. And that, I think, we're the only species who's able to do that. Okay, well, I'm busy tracking still, and Tristan has found some other tracks. Let's see how he's getting on with them.
Well, we do have other tracks. It's very difficult to see them there, but that track on that side is for little Tlalamba, and on this side, closest to us, is a track for Thandi. You can see, so in this little circle over here, that's where Thandi's track is, and so the two of them were walking around in this area, and Hosana's track comes straight here. So Hosana's track, I'll show you, is right in front of us as well. The interesting thing, though, is that I'm not sure if they walked here at the same time, because it doesn't look like there was any running or scuffling or anything like that. There you can see Hosana's track coming past as well. So his track much, much bigger than the girl's track. You can see there's quite a nice sized track that he's got. So I wonder if maybe he didn't come in this area, smell them, and then was been sniffing around, and he went off into the drainage where we think Tlalamba was left most of the day yesterday. And then the two of them have gone down into the Mulwati. So I want to just quickly check on these tracks in case he came around and sniffs them down to that area. I didn't see any sign of his tracks coming along, kind of following their tracks, but you never know. Maybe, just maybe, his tracks do turn and eventually come back. The only thing that I can think of now is if this is him and he's gone into this direction, he might have gone towards Buffelshoek Dam. So if we don't have any luck here, then I'm going to go up to Buffelshoek Dam and have a little scratch around for our young chief. The good news is, hopefully, that he hasn't gotten anywhere near Thandi and Tlalamba and hasn't hurt them in any way. I don't think he would, to be honest. Thandi would be far too aggressive towards him to allow that at all. But the good thing is, it looks like these two are absolutely fine because, well, they're walking down the road here and there's no issues by the looks of things. It's going to be quite tough, though, to find them, I think. Thandi's probably going to be on a bit of a walkabout after coming across Hosana. She's going to probably try and take little Tlalamba somewhere safer and deeper into an area where she thinks the little one will be safe. So I'm going to just double check and see how this all plays out, but I think at least for now Thandi's done a fine job of being a mother and has kept Hosana at bay and made sure that he knows that he's not really that welcome here. And all of her behavior yesterday when I was sitting with them, I'm pretty sure was because Tlalamba was not too far away. And so what she was doing is she was just keeping herself between him and Tlalamba, which was on this side, and so she would just kind of ghost him and make sure that he just never went further to the east. He was always being pushed west by her or south. She didn't mind if he was going west, then she wasn't as aggressive, but as soon as he started to try come east, she would have something to say about it. Sarah, the leopards aren't following each other. It's a typical winter scenario that takes place. We get it pretty much most winters. Is what happens is resources become very difficult to find, and so water is not everywhere like it is in the summer months, and that means that the leopards are going to try and, one, find water, two, they know that prey congregates around watery areas, and therefore it makes it much better for them to be able to find food. And so you'll find that they're all being attracted into the same place, and therefore you have these interactions that take place. Typically a lot more interactions between predators and leopards are one of them in the winter months than you see in the summer months. In summer you find that everybody's a lot more spread out and you tend to not have nearly as many fights on your hand. The other thing is that in winter the scent seems to last that much longer. You've got a situation where animals are scent marking, and because there's no rain and it seems to just kind of stay there for much longer, and they can then find each other a lot easier than in the summer months. So that's pretty much why we're seeing it. It's also a case where you've got a female and her cub which is staying in a certain area. You've got a dominant male, so she's hanging around where the dominant male hangs around, and then you've got a young male who, well, he's just trying to find his place, and so he's just hanging about in one spot. And if you think about it, Hosana wasn't following anybody yesterday. Hosana was just sitting in his little area doing his thing, minding his own business, and everybody kind of came to him because he was lying in a pivotal point for water and for food, and that's why everybody kind of came past there. So it's not so much that they're actually following each other, more than they're coming across each other due to resources that are available. Good. Now, I've lost the tracks already for Tanya and Tlalamba, but I'm hoping that I'll pick them up here in front. This is where she used to den, and it's kind of the route that she walks. She comes from that side through. So while I have a look here and see if she has popped out, I'll send you back across to Ralph, who I think is also doing tracking this morning.
Well, yes, I am doing some tracking, and I'd like to do, because everybody is tracking this morning, I want you to get involved. Now, we're looking at this little special track, and obviously, you know, I put my Leatherman there just to give some scale, but let's put my hand next to it as well. This is a little animal that we don't get to see very often here in the Djuma Traverse, but it is an actually very common animal in general to find, little nocturnal beast, and I'd like for you guys to send in what you think this is on the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. What we can see is a proximal pad at the back over there, and we can see 1, 2, 3, 4 toes, and there's also quite a bit of dead space on the inside there between the toes and the proximal pad, or the pad at the back. It has stepped over there, it's also stepped over there, and it's also stepped over there, going through like that. Now, I'll give you some other little clues. It seems like it started to take a bit of a walking pace in the middle here. So a normal walking pace, if we take it from the same foot to the same foot, we're working out more or less its body length. So we're talking, what would that be? That would be probably about 2 feet in length. Okay, so from bum to shoulder. Now, Romit, you say, is it a serval? No, it's not, Romit, but very good guess. If it was a serval, it would be quite a little bit bigger than this, and a little bit more of a roundy shape, more towards a leopard's track. And I'm just looking closer for any more little detail that we may be able to see in this track here. A little bit of soft sand. Now, Sharon, you say civet. No, it's also not a civet, and the reason I say that is we're getting a slight shape of a kidney on the outer toes here. A little bit of a kidney shape there, and a civet, it's very, very much like a mini leopard track. You can sometimes see the nails in a civet track as well, and there looks like there might be some nails in this track as well, and that's quite an important clue. But the shape is completely wrong for a civet. As I say, civet almost perfectly like a mini leopard track, very round. This is a little bit more elongated, if I can say that, more rectangular, and you see how it's almost giving us a triangular feel in the front there, almost like a hare's track. Now, Jamie, you say genet. No, it's not a genet. Very good guess, though. Good guess, guys. Genet would be much smaller. So if we look at this track here, we're talking about, what is that? Looks at about, what are we? That's 5. We're looking at about 6 to 7 centimeters, this track. And a genet track would normally be that kind of length for me. With my finger, when I'm showing it there, from the tip of my finger to my first joint, that's how big a genet track would be. And if I put this next to it here, it's probably about double that size. So a genet track, this is too big for a genet track. So what else do we have that might be nocturnal running around here? Now, Linda, you say mongoose? No. With a mongoose, if we look at the back proximal pad, very lopsided, and this is quite flat at the back. So a mongoose track would have one of the sides there sort of bulging out, and this is not. Also too big for that. It could have been a white-tailed mongoose, but it's not a white-tailed mongoose. Also quite a nice round track, but with a lopsided proximal pad. So come on, guys, what are the other nocturnal animals that would be running around here? They also generally call at night as well. Sharon, you say African wildcat. No, it's also, well, the size is about right, but that real cat type footprint making it very round. So with the African wildcat, a little bit of a different shape here. Now, the clues that I'm giving you is very important. Quite a triangular shape in the front there, and I hope you can see this nice and clearly. I'll also put a little bit of a shine on it, just to put a different perspective on it there, that you can maybe see it a little bit better, or not, but we just change. See if I do that. Ah, Robin, you've hit the nail on the head. Well done, Robin. This is indeed a jackal track, and it's a very nice jackal track. And well done, Robin. So there's the things that you will be looking for in a jackal track. Getting quite a triangular shape in front there, and then that very negative dead space in the middle. And something that we always do with a jackal track, if you can take two sticks and you can put them through with an X over there between the toes and the proximal pad, and not touching any of the pads or the back pad, that is normally going to lead you towards a jackal track. And on that one, I think we can see a little bit of the impression of claws. So well done, Robin. You got the answer correct, and that was very well done. So tracking is the name of the game this morning. Let's keep going.
Thanks, Ralph. Yes, very interesting. I got off the vehicle for a little bit there, see if I could find Hosana's tracks cutting through the block, and I also found some jackal tracks, but they were quite small, so probably just a little youngster. Really nice to see. We don't get to see jackal very often in the area. I know there's some viewers out there that would love us to find a jackal or two this morning. Well, we were headed towards Treehouse Dam, and the tracks didn't come out on the road, so I decided, let me just come back to Twin Dams, because I know that Hosana loves this area. He loves to come in here, and we'll just have a little scan around Twin Dams itself and see if he's here, and then I'll scoot on across to Treehouse, because I lost his tracks. They went from the road into the block, exactly at that drainage we were talking about before. Just going to have a quick chat here. Morning, Elvis. Good morning. How's everybody? I had the tracks at the junction of Elephant Skull and Twin Dams, and they kind of went sort of west. Yeah. I went to Weaver's Nest. I didn't see anything. I'm just going to check here and go back to Treehouse, eh? Cool. Have a good one. Okay, there. Now Elvis knows my plan. He can help me to maximize the area we can search. Let's have a little look. I don't know if he looked properly in Hosana's favorite little spot coming up here. Carol, Vuyatela Lodge is actually built around a natural spring. So yes, definitely that water gets pumped out, it gets utilized. There's a natural spring within the camp, and that would be used for water. Other than that, I don't know of any others here in the area, but there is water around. You can see how green a lot of the trees are when we're down in these drainage lines. Just having a little look over here. This is one of Hosana's little spots. He does like to frequent very similar areas. But these watering holes that we have here are all about rainfall runoff. There's no spring filling this at all. They're built in sort of very characteristic fashion along natural river courses where water would come down in the wet season and fill these catchments up. And they are slowly diminishing, slowly losing water. But these are the areas you've got to check if you want to find animals, because they are water dependent. They need water. And not only do they need water, they know that the animals that they're trying to hunt also need water. So we've seen Hosana's tactic over the last little while. He's been doing very well close to the watering holes. Although he didn't catch anything that we know of around this watering hole. Galago water's not Galago, Twin Voyatella watching hole. I suppose the water's a bit cleaner because it does get sort of pumped. So just going to have a little scan in the undergrowth here, in and around. Where's the thermal flare camera when you need it, Seb? I can see a duiker hiding in the bushes. Okay, well, I don't see anything. He might be all curled up in a ball. It is a little bit of a chilly morning. But when you lose tracks of an animal, then it's good to follow up on sort of the area where you think they might be going and see if you can pick up on any movement in that area. So we're going to go over to Treehouse Dam, which was the original plan, and I'm sure we'll find some blacksmith lapwings there as well. But let's go to Tristan and see how he's getting on with his tracks of Thandi and Tlalamba.
Well, I've temporarily lost my track, but not far. They were just behind me in the Mulwati system, so both of them were still moving southwards, following a track I know that they use quite regularly. Now, often from when Thandi and Tlalamba walk in this area, when they've gone in that direction, they then cut over and they go towards Nyala Road south. So I just want to quickly double check there and kind of just fast forward the tracking process as quick as I can and see if I can pick up where they actually went. Now, I believe that you're getting a bit of audio issues. Hopefully we can resolve it. I just want to check my mic pack quickly and make sure everything's okay there. David, is my audio okay on your side? David says my audio is okay. There we go, so we should be fine. There we go. Thank you, Louise. I'm apparently sounding good. That's a relief to hear. But I would expect the tracks to potentially come out this way. It depends on which way she's wanting to take Tlalamba. She might be taking Tlalamba a little bit more west today and go into that Pangolin track drainage, which is close to where we found them yesterday morning. But I just want to double check and see if she's not maybe going in a sort of southeast direction and taking this cub back towards Torchwood. That's what I'm thinking might be the case. So just double checking as we go, scanning around, having a look for any signs of tracks. But definitely Hosana did not follow them as they came southwards. It seems as though it was just Thandi and Tlalamba coming this way, which is in some respects a relief. I would hate for something to happen. No, there's tracks for buffalo around here, but these can't be too fresh. No, not too fresh. So that was from a few days ago. So Sharon Tumba was seen not yesterday, the day before, in an area called Cryness, which is on the western side of Elephant Plains airstrip. So if you have a map and you can find where the airstrip is, then it's just west of that. So it's still very far from us on this side. But he was milling about there, being his usual self apparently, posing and just generally being a good-looking fellow on top of a termite mound. And then he went and had a bit of a water. So whether or not he's going to push this way, I'm not quite sure. At this stage, it's a bit difficult to tell. You know, we're in a situation where he could easily go towards, you know, he could easily come this way, or he could turn back and go south, or he could go west again. It just depends on the pressures that he's going to get from other male leopards. So Hukamuri has also been very far from us. He's been hanging around Elephant Plains camp, I believe, which is quite strange. And so he's might push Tumba a little bit further west again into Ottawa or Singita, and maybe even south again into Londo's. But for now, I'm hoping that what's going to happen is he's going to meet Hukamuri, and Hukamuri's going to be west of him and push him east, and then we'll have a situation where he'll come back outside and we can see him. Wouldn't it be nice if he and Hosana hung around for a few days together? That would be quite cool. I think most of us would enjoy that quite a lot. Okay, well, Thandi's tracks don't come out where I thought they would, which is interesting. It means that she might have gone more towards the Pangolin track drainage, or I just drove right past her, which is also, I suppose, possible. These things do happen, especially in the Mulwati, where it's quite thick. If she's lying down in the grass, I might have just missed her completely. So I'll head back into where I had the last track, and then we'll see what we can do from there. Interesting, though. I would have thought she would have come out this side.
Sarah, you can never say no. I don't think so. I don't think his intention is to go and kill that little cub, but you can never really kind of, say with absolute surety that he might not be harmful towards Kalamba. I think it's a situation where each sort of scenario is different, and it is always that potential threat, given that he is a male leopard that is growing up and his testosterone will start to flourish and thrive. You'll have a situation where you're going to eventually get a point where he might be dangerous, and when that day is anyone's guess. And so that's why it's a difficult thing to kind of measure and to see and to know 100% if that's going to be the case. What is that now? There's something very orange in the road. I'm not quite sure what that even is. I need to get a little bit closer just to have a little quick look at this. Hold on, David. I'm not quite sure why it's so... It looks almost like a little pumpkin's been squashed by an ellie. It could be a tuber, you're right, Louise. That's what my first thought is. But I just want to double check it and see. Yes, it is one of the tubers. It's just been squashed so much that it's very difficult to actually make it out. I'm just going to try and get into a position that David can actually put a camera on it, but it is a tuber. Still too close, eh, David? Sorry. But it is a tuber that has been squished and squashed and fed on, and it looks like maybe a tuber. It's difficult to make out what it actually is nowadays, but definitely got that consistency, and definitely an elephant started and then a vehicle drove over it. So that's what's happened there. It just took me by surprise a little bit because I didn't expect a bright orange object to be in the middle of the road, all squished the way that is. So it was quite a surprise. Anyway, we'll just carry on and see what else we can find. Maybe we'll have a situation where we can find the perpetrator of the digging up of that particular tuber in the form of an ellie somewhere here. But we'll keep kind of looking around, and like I say, I want to go back also to those tracks again and just double check where Thandi and Kalamba go. Good. While we do that, let's send you back across to Ralph. Well, I'm not sure where he is, but hopefully he's having a wonderful morning in the golden sunshine.
Well, yes, we are indeed. Thanks, Tristan. It's one of my favourite things to be taking a track, trailing it and potentially finding it. But we've just come down onto one of these big game paths. We're just now to the south of Vuyatela Dam, and there are some fresh tracks leading up on the road. But I've just come onto the game path down towards the Mlolwati, which is just off to our west from here. And we're just checking because Tingana, he really likes walking along this game path. And so I'm just checking, a bit of intuition and just seeing if he hasn't potentially just come down this way. While I'm here, I might as well just get a bit of a warm-up on our natural heater. Now, Jenny, you want to know if there's any camera traps or cameras along these game paths? Not that I know of as yet. So the guys haven't put any cameras down here. I know that they put a camera on the elephant carcass because obviously that was an amazing sight to behold with all the predators coming along, the vultures also joining in there. So that was something that they set up. But for the time being, we only have the camera at the Vuyatela Dam, which we have been very lucky recently in watching Hosana doing a bit of hunting there, and he actually caught a duiker a little while ago, and I'm sure that highlight will be probably on the Facebook page. But I'm just, as I said, just warming my hands up here a little bit over these termites because this is our natural heater. We often find the little mongoose doing exactly what I'm doing, but they'll sit around the entrances of these holes, and it's incredible. The heat that is emanating from this, if we had the FLIR here or the thermal camera, I'm sure that you would be seeing this sort of blowing out here in the early morning, and it's perfect to get my hands nice and warm. And the reason for that is that they're keeping that temperature at about 32 to 36 degrees below the surface of the soil. And let's actually have a look in there. I'll just shine the torch and you can see the chambers as it heads down. That can be extremely deep going down in there. So, and the heat now rising. realizing we've got all sorts of things living in there as well. So you might have some arthropods that take advantage of the heat because they're also ectothermic, and you might have some lizards and reptiles, snakes and all sorts that go in down there because of the heat that is emanating. So it's not only the mongoose, it's arthropods and reptiles, and me as a human coming on here. I can then put my hands over it and warm myself up as well on a nice chilly morning like this. Now, Christy, it's probably hit the coldest that we do get here. It just gets into single figures Celsius, and so we're actually being quite soft. As South Africans, we're generally quite used to the hot, warm weather, heading into the upper 30s, lower 40 degrees Celsius I'm talking about. So that's sort of 90s Fahrenheit going over into the hundreds. But at the moment, it's pretty, it's not that bad. It's probably heading towards about 10 degrees Celsius at the moment, but as I say, relatively speaking, we do have quite a big change in temperature. So in the afternoon it can be 32 degrees, but in the morning then sometimes maybe the lowest at about 5 to 8 degrees, which isn't that cold, but because we're used to such warm temperatures here, it does feel like it's really chilly. But anyway, so the difference now between about 8 to 10 degrees Celsius to 32 degrees that I'm feeling coming out here on my hands, it's incredible how nice and warm that feels. And I could even sit on here and warm my bum up. But I think that's enough. I think we need to carry on this trail and concentrate a little bit and see if we can find this leopard. There's another nice big termite mound. Now, Johnny, these termites are edible. They are very high in protein. So a lot of animals actually eat termites at this time of the year, from the hornbills to the mongoose and to lizard buzzards to all sorts. And we can actually see lots of signs here, sorry, Senzo, of this is mongoose dung or scat. So they've been sitting here near to these holes, probably sunning themselves on this side of the termite mound, because you can see this is on the sort of northeastern side, and this is the side that's going to get hit by the sun first. They've been lying up here near to these holes, taking advantage not only of the heat emanating from the termite mound, but also from the sun rising. So you can see exactly what these mongoose have been doing. On this side, there's no dung or scat on this side of things. So it just goes to show, hey, those little mongoose, they really feel the cold, and they come out and sit on these termite mounds on that side. So we could also use this as a very good indicator of direction, because if it was very cloudy and we couldn't see the sun, well, we could come and check here, and we know that mongoose would sit on that northeastern side of the termite mound, and so we could pretty much guess that this is almost north or northeast, so east being in that direction and north. So, you know, we could work out if we had to try and walk in a northerly direction, or if we knew that camp was south from here, with there being lots of clouds around, this is one of the natural indicators that we could use to find our direction in the bush, especially when it's very flat and there's no real landmarks around. I've been lost in the bush here many times, and especially when it's cloudy, it becomes really difficult, and then you start looking at little things like this. So termites being very edible, high in protein, and they also taste a little bit like peanut butter, so they don't taste that bad as well. And some of the locals, they actually fry them, so you can have them raw, you can fry them, or you could dry them. But when you dry them, they're a little bit like rice and very hard, so I wouldn't suggest that. But frying them, or just raw, just like that, not a bad little snack, and highly protein or full of protein, so it's a very good way to survive actually in the bush. You could survive literally just on termites because they've got a lot of moisture in them as well. So that's one thing to remember. If you ever stuck out in the bush, you could just survive eating termites. Right. I think it's time for us to start picking up a little bit of speed, because I think if we do, we might have a good chance of catching one of these leopards.
Well, good luck, Ralph. I hope that you do. As you can see, we have detoured slightly from our Tundi mission. I just wanted to quickly check Buffelshoek Dam while we were fairly close to where Buffelshoek Dam is, and so we just shot up Nyala Road North quickly just to have a little look and see what's going on in case that Hosana came up here, and given his tracks were kind of heading in a northeasterly direction, I thought maybe, just maybe, we'd have a situation where he would come to this dam. I have had him here before. He often used to come here and lie on the dam wall and kind of mess around in this area. And in fact, when Steve first found him, it was not too far from here at all. So it was worthwhile just to come and check here and think about maybe looking around these little bushes in case he's doing what he was doing at the pan at Skari Dam. He might have found he was doing the exact same thing here. He just finds a dam and it sits tight and waits for animals to come. But alas, no sign of him. There's also no sign of Scuba Steve. Scuba Steve has gone out and has moved and decided he's going to venture forth. Maybe he's gone to a different waterhole and has gone to Chitwa, maybe. Who knows? Interesting though. James is going to have to phone his friend and find out exactly what's going on and why he's moved out. Now Herbie's also calling me on the radio, so I'm just going to quickly answer him. Yeah, go ahead, Herbie. I'm pretty sure he wants to know where the last tracks. Yeah, FM, they go on that 2-track all the way from Gari Cut Line south to Chelapan. You'll find their tracks, you can't miss them. And then just, if you keep going south, you'll see where I lost them, like I say, where we picked up Tingana's tracks the other day on walk. So Herbie's just trying to help us with Tundi and Klolamba. So I'm just trying to explain to him exactly where I had the last track, and so that they can get onto it. Obviously when Herbie's on tracks, things generally, our chance of success improves dramatically. So that's why we're going to send in our favorite weapon that we've got out here is Rexon and Herbie, the two of them that's on bushwalk. It's always nice to get them on tracks because, like I say, generally things improve drastically in terms of the chance of finding those cats. Right, now let's just double check here that there's no tracks. There's very old leopard tracks. That's not what we're interested in. We want fresh leopard tracks. So James, I haven't heard really much on Kuchava and whether she's still mating. I don't think so though, because I asked the guys, they told me that the afternoon, so we heard about her mating in the morning, and then that afternoon she was spotted by herself, well, what they thought was by herself. They didn't really know if that male was there. Given how skittish he was, he might have just been lurking in the background. But she was spotted then coming back east on Arathusa towards Hoffman's again, and I think she went into Hoffman's. But no, she hasn't been seen since that morning, so she might very well still be mating. She might be a situation where she's just kind of in one of those thick areas on the Hoffman's that makes it difficult to find. You never know. But no real concrete updates as to where she is, whether she's still mating or what's going on. I did hear an interesting story talking about leopards. We might as well just update about all the leopards around this area. I heard an interesting story about Sibui yesterday. So for those of you who don't know who Sibui is a female to the south of us that currently has 2 cubs. And she comes out of Mala and spends most of her time around the vessels and nets, Hoffman's, Little Gowrie, southern side Little Gowrie areas. The other day she did venture ever so briefly onto Chitwa. She was on Chitwa for about 5 minutes, and unfortunately we just couldn't get there to go and see her. But she had a kill yesterday, and unfortunately she was robbed of her kill by the Styx Pride. So the Styx came in and they climbed up there and grabbed the carcass. Luckily no damage was done or any harm was done to either of the cubs or to her. They managed apparently to get away, so that's all good news on that side. It's just bad news for her to have lost her meal. It's obviously difficult enough raising cubs with, you know, all the other challenges, but when you lose your meal, it makes life a little harder. So now she's got to expend more energy to go and get another carcass for those 2 growing individuals. Now I'm not sure if they're male or female. I honestly don't know, but either way they look like they're starting to get quite big now, which means that they'll be eating quite a bit. Good. Still no sign of any tracks coming out here. I wonder if Hosana didn't turn and go somewhere else. So David, if Tundi and Hosana did fight, I mean, yeah, I would imagine so. I think Hosana is already bulkier than Tundi is. He's a lot heavier than she is, even at his age. And so I would imagine a situation where you just have a physical sort of strength over her that she just won't have. The thing is, though, is Thandi is two things that Hosanna is not. One is that she is absolutely not afraid to engage with another leopard and to physically go after it, and she will try her very best to make sure that she proves she's, you know, a dominant individual. And the second thing is that Thandi's got 10 years more experience than what Hosanna's got, and has had many more fights than Hosanna's been through, and so that would make things a little bit more interesting. But I just think that Hosanna would be too heavy, too big, too strong to be able to actually, for her to actually be able to win that fight. You know, he's grown a lot, and yesterday, kind of looking at the two of them, while, you know, he's not a massive leopard yet, he's definitely bulkier and thicker set, and even a little taller than what Thandi is. But interestingly enough, Steve was telling me, because he saw them on the drone last night when we were doing some drone testing, he was saying to me that Hosanna actually appears smaller on the drone than Thandi, which is very strange. Right, now it sounds like Ralph has done exactly what we hoped he'd do and has found himself a spotty surprise.
Well, everyone, we've been following the trail here, and it looks like we've been able to find now some of these leopards here. I haven't been able to identify exactly who it is, but we were following the trail, and it seems like we've got at least two here. So I think it might be Thandi and Tlalamba, but you can also tell me. I'm just trying to poke my head through and look through the branches here and see exactly who it is. We just saw a flash of spots, and I don't know if Senzo can see it at the moment. I don't know if you can see it at the moment. They are in these Tamboti thickets here, but they're a little bit nervous of us on foot. There, Senzo, a little bit further across, so to the left of this big game path. I can see the spots in the bushes there, but I can't identify exactly who it is. Just to the left of that big game path, and here in front you've got these Tamboti leaves through it there, almost in the line of where it was earlier, but you'll see then just some spots down there. It's really difficult to see now, everyone. It might actually be better once we get the vehicle in, because I think with them being a little bit skittish like that, if we try get any closer, they might just be running away from us. So it's not ideal. And as I always say, it's always easier to get closer to cats and animals in general when you're on the vehicle. But we've now located them, so it's always great then from this position to call the vehicles in, and these leopards will be very relaxed with the vehicles, and then they can ascertain exactly who it is. There's at least two leopards here. Maybe there's three. We're following the tracks. It looked like Thandi and Tlalamba that we were following in, and a male's track. So whether it's Tingana or Hosanna, but I think there might be three of them in there. And I did now just see those spots again, but really in the thick stuff there, and you need a bit of a trained eye to see it. Yeah, there is one in there, deep in there, but as I say, not so easy like this, and if we press forward from here, we're actually just going to chase them. So they're already a little bit nervous of us, so we might, I would suggest from this point, we're probably just going to call the vehicles in, and then we'll move out, and then you guys can get a nice view from there. So we're going to hold our position here, and for the minute they're not moving around, they're just becoming one with the bush there as well, as leopards do, and they're just holding their position, hoping that we don't see them, which we can't really. So alright, so we're going to call the vehicles in, chat with Tristan or whoever's closest. I think it probably is Tristan, and so we're going to send you off to the other vehicle on the move, and that's Steve.
Well, you can tell Herbie's back from leave. It didn't take him much time at all, just an hour or so. Well done, my friend. How exciting is it to find leopards on foot? You know, we must ask Herbie the question, does he still get excited about that? Ah, he does. I've seen it on his face. And there's also an enormous sense of achievement within inside. Yesterday we were with Rex and we were trying to find Thandi, and she was up and down all over the place. So she was moving a lot, so we couldn't find her yesterday. But there we go. Well done. We found some more tracks of Hosanna close to the southern boundary with Twin Dams, right there by the watering hole itself, and they kind of went back east and kind of into the Umawati. We went in to see if we could find anything, nothing. So we come around onto this other sort of access road off Mamba to see if maybe he's come out, because Twin Dams is just over there. Having a little look-see. But it seems like my other colleagues have done all the other hard work and they've found you some spots for the morning. We don't know who and how many just yet, but that is the beauty of being on foot. It doesn't actually matter. A leopard on foot is a leopard on foot, and if there's 1, 2 or 3, well, all the more better. Tristan will be there shortly. I contemplated turning around and going there, but he's been working on those tracks, so let him go and see, and we'll continue. Oh, look what we found. Yes, I found him. Woo! Now that is a gut feeling right there, folks. That is how the gut feeling works. Is you hope the animal is going to walk out in front of you, and here he does. Right in front of us, Seb. Ooh, well, thank you very much. This does look like Hosanna to me from the back, but maybe the viewers can confirm that for me. Well, I'm just so glad I didn't turn around now. Okay, well, very exciting. Stations, we found a male leopard on Mamba Loop headed towards Mamba in a northerly direction. Well, my heart just got all excited there. I love it. I love it. That's where the gut instinct comes in, folks, when you kind of get these sort of these feelings. Yeah, Mamba Loop headed towards Mamba. So, Romit, yes, it is exactly how it is. We found those tracks. I got off the vehicle at Twin Dams itself, found tracks with a whole lot of hyena interspersed. He crossed the dam wall, headed east, and then sort of I lost his tracks again. It's quite a busy little section there and quite hard ground. Sorry, Seb. And we decided, because I've had him on this road before, and then he's cut through to Twin Dams. Romit, it feels incredible. It feels incredible. My whole tummy is like doing knots inside, because and finding them live is even more exciting than just finding them, because I'm in the middle of a sentence and then lo and behold he just decides to materialize. So let's just go and have a look if it is Hosanna or Tingana. It is hard for me to tell from just his bottom. I know some of you out there are able. It's Tingana, folks. This is Tingana. Stations, this is Tingana we found. He's now mobile on Mamba itself in a westerly direction. Oh, no, he's not. He's going to go into the bushes, and we're going to see if we can follow him. Thank you, Lioness. I hope it is indeed the positive energy. Okay, well, you're going to go through there, Tingana. We're going to have to try and come around. Stations, Tingana is now going north into the block from Mamba, just from Mamba Loop itself. Nice 2-track. Okay, let's try and get in front, and then we can confirm for all of you from a facial frontal that it is the Duke. Yes, it is indeed the Duke, and I'm not going to impede his movements. There he is. Hello, my friend. Hello, my friend. He's done a really big loop this morning. Where his tracks must have gone to, because we had him north of the lodge last night. He must have done an enormous loop, gone through Bivilshoek and Torchwood, and now he's coming all the way back. And he's probably going to go and go all the way back to where Tundi is. Well, I'm going to keep seeing if we can follow. Sorry, I started rolling there, Seb. My apologies. Okay, something just spotted it, and that sounded like a Nyala. As soon as he gets spotted, he likes to then go, okay, well, I've been spotted, let me call now. Very nice sort of digging over here. Okay, I'll keep your eyes on him. It's going to get very tricky here in a moment. Well, Herbie and Tristan are joking on the radio. We always have these competitions about who finds things, and Herbie has just gone and said 3-1 to Tristan because Herbie's found some leopards there, and let's go over to him for the big reveal.
Indeed, Herbie and I are joking. We have a count that Herbie and I have, and so every day that we are working, we have who can find a leopard first. And so, at the moment, I'm down because it's 3-1 to Herbie since I've been back in terms of finding a leopard out here. Obviously, we don't count any of the days when neither one of us is here. So yesterday, even though I got success and found a few, I can't count them, unfortunately. So back to the scoreboard, and I'll need to up my game if I'm to try and compete with Herbie in any way whatsoever. But as you can see, we've got our spotty cat facing away from us. Looks like it's Tundi. It's who I would imagine it to be. I don't see any sign of Kalamba at this stage. It's difficult to kind of make it out. From my view, is the sun is directly in our eyes, and we've got a situation where, you know, it's facing away from us, so it's difficult to see. But I can't actually see nicely. Is it her or is it Hosanna? It does look like Hosanna, actually, now that I can turn your hair. Yeah, yes. And the neck looks much thicker too. I wonder if maybe it isn't Tundi and Kalamba and Hosanna all here together, but that does look like Hosanna. The notch out of the left ear is quite indicative of him, and also just the width of that neck is much bigger than what we would see on Tundi. Tundi's not got quite the same bulkiness to her neck or to her body. You can see even coming down his back, he's got quite a big, heavy-set body. And last night, when I saw Tundi, she wasn't very thin, but she wasn't exactly fat and full. Whereas if you look at this cat's got quite a full tummy. It's looks more like what I would see from Hosanna, from his food that he had in the last few days. I'm pretty sure. I mean, we still had Tundi and Kalamba's tracks quite far south of here, so it's interesting if it is Hosanna. I wonder if he wasn't just following the tracks and then gave up and they've actually continued. I'm not 100% sure. It's obviously difficult to get anywhere near where he is sitting now and to get a better view because, well, it's about 4 million trees in between us and where he is sitting. But it definitely doesn't look like Tundi to me. It's just too heavy set. It looks more like our little boy, and, well, I suppose it's not far from the dam at all, so it's not a surprise that he's actually sitting here. You know what, David? I think we might be able to get a better view of his face. I just need to negotiate around a little bit. Let's just try and see if we can do it. I'm going to try and get to a situation where there should be a little gap that I can get round, and if I can get through that, then I should be able to line up kind of south of him. It will also be much better with the light because the light is very harsh in our eyes. Now I'm going to try and sneak through this little gap. Just got to make sure that we look after all the camera equipment because there's a whole bunch of equipment on the car that we don't want to get in any way damaged. So David's just doing that. So while we reposition, let's send you back to, well, the heroes of the morning and the ones that started off our trend this morning of spotty cats in the form of Ralph and Herbie on walk.
Well, everyone, we've just decided now we're going to come down the Mlolwati and find all sorts of the little small things because we've done our job. We've found the leopards. It seems like we've found 3 of them, possibly. And if Steve has Tingana, well, we've pretty much found all the leopards on the property. So what else to do but look for little things? And I spotted a little bird that's just flitting between these Tamboti branches. And it did look like it might have been a chin spot batis, but I can't see him now. Let's just see if we can hear him. And we're just a little bit downstream in the Mlolwati from where Tristan is. We're still in earshot. We can actually hear him moving and trying to get the branches out the way. And he's pretty much in a similar sort of thicket of Tambotis that we've got just here. But so I think we're going to start on now moving a little bit down the riverbed itself. And we've seen some rhino tracks, so they're around. We're also seeing quite a few giraffe droppings here next to the road, and you can often tell that it's giraffe. Just have a look at this, because look how spread it is. So quite easy to see. Okay, those ones have been squashed by the vehicle, but these, how they spread like this as they go along. I mean, obviously this is coming from quite a height. Would it be the giraffe as it is dropping its dung? And I often used to tell my students that it looks a little bit like a Rolo. You know, the chocolate Rolo? It's got a sort of an indent on the one side, and on that side a little bit pointy. So it's like a Rolo. And if I put it next to each other, we could almost have a nice lineup of Rolo. So I wouldn't be eating it, but it does definitely look like a nice packet of Rolo, doesn't it? But not getting together. Yes, Louise says a nice fun prank to play on Valentine's Day. Maybe I'll send a little packet of giraffe Rolo to my wife, but I'll have to wait until February, so it's a bit of a long wait, and hopefully I'll still be in the bush at that stage. Anyway, let's start moving along here. Herbie, what we're going to do, because we've found these leopards now, so what to do. Maybe we'll just turn around in circles, but I think we should head towards Twin Dams, maybe. What do you think, Herbie? Should we head towards Twin Dams and we see what we find down that side? Maybe we can catch up with some elephants as they are coming down for a drink, so that we can change things up a bit. We don't want to let it just be boring with 4 leopards. I mean, we don't want to have just leopards on the show this morning. Maybe we can get some elephants as well. And here's the giraffe track. Was probably that the culprit of the one dropping those Rolo dung balls. And you see the size of my foot here in comparison to that, and also nice and flat on the toes there. And well, that's a flat giraffe track, and from that flat giraffe track I'll send you to a flat leopard.
Well, good luck, Ralph. Hopefully you'll be able to find some other things. Also, you do have other leopards to find, because, well, this is just Hosanna by himself. There's no sign of Thandi and Tlalamba here, and I'm sure Thandi and Tlalamba's tracks are the ones still going south there. So if you feel like finding more leopards, well, you're more than welcome to carry on those tracks. But you can see Hosanna has now tucked himself in the most impenetrable fortress possible, and there is really no way to get any closer to him. It was all right when he had his head up, but now that he's put his head down, well, you can't really get anywhere near him. And you can see what it looks like inside here. That's as unfriendly as possible. These are all tambuti trees, every single one of them, and so that means that all of these trees you are not allowed to drive over, and so that makes this a very difficult area to negotiate and very hard to get anywhere remotely close to where Hosanna actually is. And so, well, we're just going to have to be happy with the fact that we get to see his spotty little shoulders and his ear. I'm hoping he'll put his head up again. When he puts his head up, it's quite nice. Then we can see his face quite clearly. You know, obviously the view that we had at the back there was all right for his body, but I was trying to just see his face and kind of see how things are going. And I would imagine he's going to be very tired today. He must have had a long night of being harassed by his older sister and being told off by her. The good thing is it doesn't seem to have fazed him in the slightest. I was a bit worried last night that Thandi's overzealousness and her constant hounding of him was going to make him go somewhere else and, you know, move out of our area, but as it seems, he is completely unfazed by this and doesn't really care too much at all, and is still pretty much in the very similar spot that he has been in for the course of the last sort of almost 2 weeks, which is wonderful for us. I'm glad that he's around still. First name last, well, there's a simple reason that the leopards enjoy being in this particular section. One is the Mulwati is a perfect area to be able to hide away in. It's thick, it's dense, it's the perfect place for leopards to spend time. They love these kind of habitats. They love areas like this where they can camouflage incredibly well and ambush all kinds of prey animals. The second thing is that the Mulwati system obviously leads to water, and so there's water at Twin Dams and there's water at the lodge, and so, you know, those 2 water points are vitally important, particularly in winter months, for them to not only get water but also also prey animals. And then in summer, you find it's a nice dense area that's cool, and so they escape from the heat by being able to get into here. And so it's just the right habitat. It's got a lot of prey animals in it, so because it's also dense, you find a lot of duiker, steenbok, bushbuck, nyala, impalas that all spend time in these areas. These tambuti trees that we were talking about, so all these trees that are around him, they've got a leaf that a lot of the herbivorous animals will feed off. So especially things like impalas and nyala, kudu, those kind of things will all feed off it, just because it helps with their digestive systems and digestive tracts. So those leaves right there. And so it means that there's a lot of prey animals here. It's also shady during the day, which, like I say, makes it a little bit cooler. And so it's the right place for these guys to spend time. And look at that. I mean, you wouldn't know if you were walking around in here, and obviously Herbie and Ralph, they spotted him. He was lying a little bit more out in the open. They explained to me that he was a little bit further down than where he is now. But you wouldn't really see that very easily at all. And so he can camouflage incredibly well in here, and that's what makes it a great place for him. He's also got points of safety, lots of nice big trees that he can go up into if other predators harass him, or if he does catch an animal, he can take that carcass up into the tree. And so that's why they enjoy it. And that's from a sort of every leopard side. The female leopards will use this primarily because of the fact that they have a situation where they have lots of den sites available in these drainage systems, lots of hidden thickets where they can hide cubs. And we saw Thandi used it quite regularly during the course of her sort of growing up of Kalamba. Good. Well, our cat is curled up and tired, but Steve is with Tingana, and well, he's being far more active than what Hosana is.
He hasn't stopped moving, folks. This is the first time we've seen him stop there for a second. He is moving up and down, sniffing. We were talking earlier about how animals track with their noses. He is definitely tracking something. He's possibly hunting, trying to pick up the trail of a warthog or maybe a steenbok, being in the area we're in. It's nice and open. This is very nice steenbok sort of habitat. But he's definitely on the move. After those nyala spotted him, he started calling, and then they kind of followed him for a little bit, and then he moved away. Well, we're going to have to see if we can keep following him here. He's done a really nice big sort of loop. So he's not on any territorial sort of demarcation mission. It might look like it. He will scent mark every now and again as he comes across familiar signposts. Gonna come out onto the road right now. I think not far from the road now. Got our friend Elvis, who was coming to help moments ago. He's now able to get into the position. And how's that? Lucky for him. Comes straight onto the road, and there he's got him. But now if he keeps going north from there, that's a very difficult area to go into. That is a very, very deep drainage line. Well, we're going to have a little look, see if we can access here. I don't think we're going to be able to, but Tingana is definitely got his mind set on something. What are the wheels clocking in your brain, young sir? What is happening? It's about 1 meter at the shoulder, Beverly, just under 1 meter at the shoulder. I actually don't know. Hands, I don't know hands. There he is, beautiful. 800 centimeters at the shoulder. This is a perfect sort of thick habitat area. Hosana's in a similar sort of area. And Tingana's moved in here. He's no doubt looking for some food. But if he goes down there, 9 or 10 hands. Sorry, who said that? Lou? Yeah, that's about... Oh, James. Thank you, James. So a hand is almost about 10 centimeters. Yeah, I've just measured that on my own hand with my knife. Thanks, James. We need to get into the horse terminology of hands. There he goes. He's definitely very interested. We're going to see if we can get in here, but I'm not sure if we can. Well, Hosana seems to be stirring a little bit of life, so let's go and see how he's looking after his night with Thandi.
Well, he did have his head up, but as you can see, it's now back down again, and he's just a sort of ball of spots behind a log. It's really, there is no way else to kind of get anywhere near where he is, and unfortunately, that's just the view that we're going to have. And like I say, we can't really complain, can we? It's not like he hasn't just given us the most epic amount of time spent with him and posed in all kinds of ways over the course of the last few days, that him being hidden away for a morning and just us seeing spots is not the worst thing in the world. I mean, obviously it would be nice if he was out in the open, we could see him nicely, but he's had a tough night, and so I don't blame him for finding a spot just to rest. But he really is chosen the worst possible place for us to get in and try and actually view him. Aaron, we are, I would say, maybe 400 meters from the camp. We're close. We're very, very close. So where the Wahlberg's nest is, which is the road, and there's a road that goes up to quarantine, we're basically directly to the east of that road, that junction. So I can actually see the Wahlberg's nest from where I'm sitting currently. So we're not very far at all. In fact, I would be shocked and surprised if Hosana does not actually go back to the dam this evening, or even during the course of today. I wouldn't be surprised he wanders back northwards and goes and plonks himself in his favorite spot. That would be probably what would happen. I mean, obviously it's difficult to say. He might pick up the track of Thandi and Kalamba and just follow them again, but I'm pretty sure he's going to go back towards the dam and spend another day or two in that area. Hopefully he spends more than that. I mean, I was hoping that he'll just stay there indefinitely for the winter. It would be quite nice, wouldn't it, if you just kept him kind of hanging about the dam all winter. It would certainly make our life very easy, and we'd get some amazing views of him. It's one nice thing that's kind of happened. Obviously the return of Hosana was something that everybody wanted, and he was quite obliging. Not only did he return, but he then decided to return to the dam cam and just stay there, where all of you could watch him 24 hours a day, which is pretty crazy. So, as much as we missed him, you think he's more than made up for it and given us so much time that I suppose a morning of seeing him kind of not very easily would be something we can take. It's a good second prize, I suppose. Kelly, he is sleeping off a few good meals, isn't he? He's really had a good time of it over the course of the last week. He's had 3 different meals and fed himself to oblivion. So, it's a situation where he's not like he's desperate for food, although with Hosana it seems as though he's much like Tingana, and that his belly just kind of has a bottomless pit, and that you can just chuck as much as you want in there and it just never kind of gets full, and he's always hungry. I suppose a growing teenager, I mean, you look at many teenage boys, they tend to also have bottomless tummies, and that they're just able to eat and eat and eat and eat. So, he's even though he's eaten well, we've seen he kind of still hunts most days trying to find food, and so he's a very active cat. He's got to keep that hunger at bay, and so I suppose that is tiring work, and that's why he has to get some sleep. But I would imagine most of the reason why he's tired is because of his adventures last night with Thandi. Thandi has kept him very, very busy last night. I was laughing a lot at her and the way that she was, because she was just being, I don't know what the word would be, but she was just being obstinate. Every time he would try and move away from her, she would just kind of follow him and then growl at him, and then he would lie down and just look at her, and then she would just look at him. And it was not really very aggressive in nature. It was just kind of Thandi was being a good mother. That's all it really was, is that she was trying to keep her little one safe, and she was trying to just basically keep Hosana from going towards where Kalamba was. But it's one of those things. It's a situation where she was just, I suppose, full of nonsense, and poor Hosana, he just wanted to play by the looks of things. He was bounding around all over the place and chasing imaginary things through the grass, and kind of biting sticks and pulling sticks with his his paws, and it was very, very curious last night. In fact, at one point, I was watching Tundi, who was off to my right-hand side, and David was busy filming Tundi, and I looked over his shoulder, and there was a fallen over tree right behind David, so it was pretty much at the same level as the door of the car, and there was these big orange eyes, no more than about 2 meters, just staring at David as he was busy filming. It was quite funny to watch because he was kind of facing the opposite direction, and there's this leopard kind of looking at him. It was very, very cool. So he was in fine form last night as being his playful self, but that means that we're in a situation where he's now quite tired. Lauren, well, I don't know. I mean, he seems to be an individual who just wants to play with sticks and leaves and all kinds of things all his life. He's got quite a character, Hosana. He's definitely one of the more sort of intriguing characters that I've met in terms of leopards. He's very playful and very curious and always kind of up to something. So maybe it'll be a phase, that he will grow out of eventually. I would imagine once he becomes a dominant male and, life becomes a little bit more serious and he's got to spend more time scent marking and vocalizing and, mating and all those kind of things, maybe then he'll stop with his playfulness. But I hope he doesn't. I hope he becomes a beast of a male, big, dominant, and still has this kind of fun side to him, that where he just runs around like a hooligan half the time. It would make him seriously fun to be around. And unfortunately, though, I think the chances of that are pretty slim. I'm pretty sure by the time he reaches 5-6 years old, he's no longer going to have this playfulness, and he'll be far more business-orientated than play-orientated. If you look at somebody like Tingana, doesn't really deal with that very much. He's not playful in any way. Although, you never know. Maybe we'll have a situation where we'll have a playful male. It's going to be interesting. I'm really intrigued to see what Hosana is going to turn out as in terms of a dominant individual, because I'm intrigued is he going to be a leopard that's going to spend a lot of time with the females, follow them around, spend a lot of time with his cubs. Obviously that's not what typical leopards do, but we also know that typical leopards don't hang around other leopards as much as what Hosana does. Hosana just doesn't seem to really care if leopards are really not wanting him around. He just follows them anyway. And we know with Tundi and Shadow and Tingana that he just kind of looks around for them and then just sits next to them and doesn't really care that they growl at him. He just wants their company. So I wonder if he's going to be like that as a dad and just kind of spend time with cubs, which would be quite interesting if he does. Good. Well, we'll hope that he'll pop his head up one more time so we can try and get a view. We'll sit with him until he does. And then while we wait, let's send you back across to Steve with, Hosana's dad.
Hello, Pops. I wonder if Tingana's ever heard that from Hosana. Hello, Dad. In their own little leopard way. He's finally stopped moving. And I get the feeling he's about to stand up again by the way he's moving his head. But he's a beautiful, magnificent creature. He's showing absolutely no sign of the injury he had 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago. The first time I've actually spent time with him now, really having a proper walk. He's not showing any sign of that limp. The scavenged food from Tundi and Hosana has provided him with the necessary energy to heal. There are his enormous feet. His beautiful spots and that very thick neck. He's definitely on the hunt, though. He's been sniffing and moving, and he stopped here quite deliberately, looking into this little drainage depression to see if any animals were moving around. There's often a nyala in this little drainage lines, as well as deka. Might be what's on the menu today. Dado, you want to know how far leopards travel? Well, it's very hard to really put a number on that. It depends on if they're being territorial or not. Males have got a much larger territory than females, about 3 times the size. So they could travel 3 times as far as females. But it also depends on whether they're going to do a boundary route or not, or whether they're just hunting. If a leopard is on a kill, well, they don't go very far at all. But if they've eaten and they're feeling quite well fed, and they go on a territorial prowl, they can go 10, 20 kilometers perhaps. I really don't know an average number for that, but leopard territories also differentiate in size. Leopards in the Kalahari will move much further than leopards here in the Sabi Sands, because the density of prey items is much more abundant here than it is in the more drier climates, so the territories in dry areas are much larger. So I don't think there's a hard and fast rule, but I reckon we can assume that a male leopard can travel about 10-15 kilometers, no problem, in a big sort of looping sort of style. I remember just stories of my trackers back in the day. If we ever found male leopard tracks, they would refuse to follow them because they just knew how far these animals would walk. And for us, walking 10 k's, 15 k's is a mission. For them, that just seems to be part and parcel of their every other day routine. He is a beautiful cat. Mama Bear, I do agree with you. He is a beauty. He is a beauty. And he's so relaxed. Oh, just so marvellous that we found him before. You know, kind of going on a hunch of a leopard coming through on that game path from Twin Dams, and lo and behold, it's not Hosanna, it is his dad, and Hosanna is all the way back at camp, closer to camp anyway. So what tracks were we following? Could it have been Tingana's tracks? But they didn't seem big enough to me. They seemed a little bit too small to be Tingana, but, you know, who knows? Maybe they were, maybe the substrate was just that they seemed to be smaller. Okay, well, Tingana is taking a breather, and Hosanna seems to be on the move.
Well, he's not on the move, but he's at least stood up and has decided to watch us a little bit. We had a conversation. We decided we'd talk to Hosanna and tell him that he needs to show his little face to all of you. And no, it's obviously not the case. I think it's because there's some oxpeckers that are calling behind us, and I wonder if he hasn't spotted maybe some impalas or daika or something like that. You can see he's looking quite interested in something. He definitely is far more awake than what he was 5 minutes ago. Look, there we go. You see how he's looking? Now I wonder what he's spotted. He must have spotted something. I can't see anything because there's about 4 million trees in the way between us and wherever he's looking, and so I wonder if maybe there's not a little daika or something that's walking around. When we were tracking earlier in this area before Herbie found and Ralph found Hosanna, there was quite a few impalas just south of here. So I wonder if they maybe are moving in this direction, and that's why the oxpeckers are calling, and why Hosanna is actually kind of in the area and just, well, not in the area, but why he's alerted now and he's got his ears up and looking around. I'm just trying to scan around us, but I don't see any sign of anything that he could be very interested in. I wonder what has caught his attention. My only thing that I think can be birds that have alerted him to the fact that there might be some animals around. But that camouflage is insane. It's really incredible to kind of see when you look at the fact that there's really not much around him other than trees. That spotted pattern is just amazing as the way it blends in. Now Ralph is saying he wonders if it's not Thandi and Tlalamba because he's convinced they're in this area. Well, I suppose it could be. I don't see any sign of them moving around, and he's not chuffing or anything like that. And I'm pretty sure, oh, look at that. Now, just now, I was saying to David, if he puts his head on that log, he's going to get the cute factor for sure, and that he'll be really, hello boy. Yes, you are being very obliging now. Well done. Look at that. I was hoping he was going to do that, and I said to him, we were saying, just if he puts his head on that log, it's going to be perfect. And, well, he has done so. I mean, it's obviously not the best view, but it's just, that picture right there is Hosanna through and through. The kind of sleepy face resting on a log that's about as cute as probably you could ever want. Very cool. Like I said, it's not the best visuals we'll ever have, but still an awesome little sight to see. Now, whatever it was that he was watching, he's decided it's not worth his time. He's going to rather have a nap and position his head perfectly on the log in order to have a bit of a sleep. I would imagine also the sun is now out, and there's a bit of warmth to that sun, and so he no longer has to be as curled up as he was earlier. He's now can kind of stretch himself out and maximize the amount of sun on his body and just get nice and warm and feel a lot better about things. Very cute though. Yes, boy, you're a charmer, that's for sure. Right, well, while we kind of sit with Hosanna and just admire his general demeanour, let's send you back across to Ralph, who's determined to find Thandi and Kalamba this morning.
Well, everyone, it's been quite fascinating because we can see we've been following these tracks, going a little bit around in circles in a very similar area to where Tristan is with Hosanna at the moment. And I don't have the tracks to show you here now, but down in the river, it was fascinating because you can see that there has been a lot of playing going on. Now, I don't know if it's Kalamba playing with Thandi or whether it's Kalamba playing with Hosanna. But what is very evident is that they've been walking together. When we spotted those leopards, I know now that Tristan is only with Hosanna, but Thandi and Kalamba were there. And so they're moving around here, and we're just trying to see if we can catch up with them in these last few minutes. A minute ago, Senzo thought that he saw some leopards hiding. So we think that they are here, but we're not going to spend too much time doing that. But what I do want to tell you is how Kalamba has been playing with both of these cats, and you can see how, from the tracks you can almost see how one of them goes behind an obstruction like this, and then the other tracks come like this, or from the opposite direction, and then it jumps out at and that kind of playful cat nature. So the tracks never lie, and it does show that whether Kalamba's playing with only Thandi or with Hosanna as well, it would be absolutely fascinating to be able to watch that. But we can just see from the tracks that it did happen. So this is what is happening now. Hosanna, maybe with his playful nature, maybe he's playing with Kalamba. That would be absolutely incredible. But all we know is that they're moving together and there is play going on. So who is it with and how is it happening is just something that we'd have to wait and see if we can actually witness that. But what we're trying to do now is just to see if we can find out exactly where they are. But we're probably about 200 meters away from Hosanna at the moment, and Thandi Kalamba moving in this area. So how great is that? We've got Tingana with Steve, we've got Hosanna with Tristan now, and Thandi and Kalamba are around here as well. So it's just like one big happy family. Everybody's getting along, everyone's playing around. If only they would work together and protect this territory, that would be fantastic. And they could almost help Tingana out. But that's in an ideal world, and it's not really typical leopard behavior.
Here's a typical leopard. It is the Duke of Juma. He is moving beautifully through the golden grass. He's claiming this land, reaffirming his dominance. Seems kind of contradictory to be calling if you're hunting, but we see it often when they get spotted by something. They then call, but nothing spotted him now. I think he can't see anything, so he's like, okay, well, nothing's around, let me call myself in. Beautiful shot there, Seb. Okay, now we're going to see if we can keep up with him. We've done very well so far. We've been very lucky in the route he's chosen. The other vehicle didn't do very well. Seemed to be just arriving without calling themselves in. Sharon, Tristan apparently did listen to leopards sawing all night. Said it kept him awake. I don't know. Leopard has never kept me awake. I quite love the sound that they make. I hear it and actually smile. Oh, there we go. There's a scent marking. Sorry, Tingana. There's your scent marking. That's my quarry bush, that one. Oh, immediately got a whiff in the air there. The Doritos smell. Okay, well, we're going to have to try and get underneath there now. This is going to be fun. Seb, it's a guarri bush, so you're going to be able to use your hand. Okay, well, while we try and get through here, let's go back over to Tristan and my favorite leopard of all time. Well, Steve, I think you and many others share in the favoritism when it comes to Hosana. He has captured the hearts of many, I suppose, over the course of his life. Now, this morning I was complaining about Tingana, not because I don't like the sound of a leopard sawing. In fact, it's one of my favorite sounds in the whole world, and I could listen to it regularly. But over the course of the last few days, Tingana has got this lovely habit of coming past at the perfect time, at around sort of 10, 11 at night, just as you're about to drift off to sleep. And then he starts with his sawing that goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. And he does it enough that it gets me excited, that I then become very awake, because now I'm plotting, where is he walking, how is he going, where am I going to try and find him in the morning. And so this is what happens. And then I end up not falling asleep for another 2 hours, which means that I then wake up after about 3-4 hours sleep and am not in the best of form at all. So it's not that I don't like hearing the sound, it's just that he comes at the worst time. If he sawed it around 8-9 o'clock, it would be fine. But you know, this later sawing, it wakes me up immediately, and then I have to think about where he is and where am I going to go look for him in the morning. And so that's really the problem. It's not so much the fact that he actually saws. Now, we figured out what Hosana was watching. Hosana is watching giraffe. That's what he's actually looking at. So there's a whole bunch of giraffe that are behind us. There's one that's off onto the left-hand side here, Dave. I don't know if you can see it. You might see it through the bush there. So there's one there. You'll just see its head poking out the top of the trees. There we go. So there's that one. And then there's another one just to the right. Now, I'm not sure where Ralph and Herbie are currently walking, but these two giraffe are really staring south of us at the moment and are now going to move off. And so I wonder if maybe Ralph and Herbie and them are not just south of us, or there could be something else walking around in that area, given the way that they are kind of moving about and the way that they're looking. Giraffe, when they stop and stare like that, generally means something's around. Miss Muffin Girl, these 4 leopards are breaking the rules somewhat. I mean, obviously we've seen sightings of Tingana with Shadow and not Barbara, and again now with obviously Tandi and Tlalamba. So seeing a male leopard with a female in the cub is not that uncommon. I mean, I've seen Anderson with Tiani and Salehesh. I've seen Mvula with multiple different young individuals. So, male leopard kind of coming across a female with a cub, not so much. But this male over here, Hosana, is the one that is kind of the interesting part of the whole mix, because somehow it seems like everybody's just tolerant of him. I don't know what he does to everybody, but everyone seems to be tolerant, so no one seems to get too upset with him. I mean, Tingana has walked around here, vocalized, scent marked, and made a lot of noise, and that is not deterring Hosana at all. Hosana's just like, well, it's my dad, he's making a lot of noise, I'm just going to stay here, he's okay. And then when Tingana finds Hosana, there's no real major aggression. I mean, he comes in and he hisses a little bit, and he's, keeps Hosana at bay, but he's not really being aggressive in any way whatsoever to Hosana. So that's where this kind of interesting part of it is. And there are other leopards out there that have had this situation. I mean, we've discussed the white dam male down in the south and his relationship with Masha Ben, who's the dominant male down there, and he's in that area scent marking, doing his thing and causing a bit of havoc. And so there's a situation where it's a very similar, there's a parallel kind of situation with Hosana. And if Hosana can do what White Dam has done and become almost dominant, he's scent marks, he's mated, and stay around, and Tingana doesn't really mind, that will be the best possible situation for us. The only problem with that is that we don't really want Hosana spending time around Tandi and mating with her, because obviously that's brother and sister, and that's not ideal. So that is Hosana busy watching the bushwalk coming past, because I can actually see the bushwalk coming past, and you can see he's not really fazed by it, isn't he? You would think that a leopard would, when sees people on foot, might run away, but he's just watching around of them ghost past us, and he's just, oh, there goes my friends, they're going back home for breakfast. I'm pretty sure he's going to end up going back to the pan as well. I doubt that we're going to get a situation where he's not going to head in that direction. But the yawning that we've seen now might be an indication that he's thinking about
standing up and moving a little bit, so it'll be interesting to see if he does get up, which way he's going to go. But that yawning is always a good indication that a leopard is somewhat getting ready to move, although it looks like he's settled back down again. Michael, difficult to say. I mean, I don't think we really know. There's a possibility that he's very social because he was orphaned, and that there wasn't that lesson that he learnt that, you know, he needs to be pushed away from his mom, and his mom didn't chase him. So he had a situation where he just lost her, and then maybe he just sought out, you know, other company, and so far everybody's been fairly tolerant. That might be the situation. I don't know. It's, you know, obviously it's individual leopards have different characteristics. If you look at Tamba, he's far less social than what Hosana is, and he's had a very similar situation. Okay, he wasn't orphaned, but he was left very young. He was, you know, just over a year when Tandi started to mate, and so, you know, it's an interesting situation. I think each leopard has their own characteristic. There could be something in it that he was orphaned, and therefore, you know, he seeked out his mother and came across a lot of other leopards at a very young age, and that's why he was not a threat, and they now all recognize his scent and don't associate him with danger. I don't know. It's a interesting topic, and one that I suppose could be discussed long into the night without really coming out with a viable solution or a proper sort of situation. I mean, it's obviously hearsay. We can't really measure those kind of things. Anyway, we'll see if Hosana decides if he's going to wake up and move. In the meantime, let's send you back across to the Duke, who's still marching along in the middle of Djuma.
Yes, well, he's been trying to give us the slip, Tristan, but we've managed to navigate some very tricky sort of terrain, and we have got him again. He went into the drainage, and then a hyena came up, and he chased it away. A hyena took one look at him and went, no thanks, I'd rather go play somewhere else. That was quite cool to see. And thankfully, where the hyena was, that caused Tingana come back onto our side of this very deep ravine that he's looking into quite intently as he starts to groom himself. It's a hard work being a male leopard. Walking and calling, looking after your territory, stealing food from others. He's very intently looking into the drainage there. I wonder if he can smell something or hear something we can't. Their senses are far superior to ours. He probably knew the hyena was there the whole time. We only stumbled across it. Just stand by. I'm just going to talk to Elvis. Yeah, he's stationary on the side of the drainage at the moment, Elvis. I'm still with him. His ears have returned, but he was asking how long will it take his ear to return to normal. I think the answer is about 2 weeks. A week and a half to 2 weeks. He had a bit of a floppy ear syndrome, for those of you who weren't aware. We're not sure what happened. He got into some confrontation with them. We don't really know. Could have been hyena, could have been another leopard. I doubt it was a lion. A lion would have hurt him badly. But he had a very droopy right ear, and his left front foot there's a nasty sort of wound on the top of it, and he was limping. It was quite swollen. But since then, he managed to scavenge a kill from Tandi, and at least one from Hosana, his son. And he's looking in fine form once again. It always amazes me the resilience of these animals, how they're able to bounce back. And you saw him licking his paw there. No doubt his licking of that injury on his leg, on his foot, the saliva has actually got all sorts of bacteria in that will assist in the healing of those wounds. Juanita, it would indeed be a perfect day if he managed to catch something to fill that belly of his. I've never actually seen him hunt. I found him with a few kills, not really many, to be honest, in the time I've been here. I saw him with Hosana's scavenged kill the other day. And I saw him with a Scavenger's kill of Tundi quite a few months ago, a Dacre that Ronald the Rover managed to get some really good shots of up close and personal. But other than that, I can't really recall another time I've actually seen him with meat. I'm sure there must be, but I just can't remember. Okay, well, looks like Ralph Kirsten is indeed focusing on the small things. This time it's got feathers.
Yes, I do have feathers, and I hope that this is going to add to some of our viewers' birding list. This is a little bird that likes to jump around in the brush and throwing the leaves out of the way with its little feet, and then attacking little insects and things that might be hiding. And it makes a call like this. Any of you know which bird this is? Let's hear your answers. I won't wait too long and I'll tell you what it is. But a very, very nice bird. Very difficult to actually get it on camera. We hear it a lot around this time of year. And the call, actually, you don't think that it's quite a medium-sized bird. You actually think it's maybe from a little sunbird or a flycatcher, something like that. And it's actually quite a bit bigger than you expect it to be, with it quite a small sounding call that it has. So it is a curricane thrush. Curricane thrush. Everyone, I hope that's added to your list. And as I say, very difficult to get on the camera. So we're quite lucky that this one is now warming itself up in the sun. And we can spend a little bit of time with it. It's like the bush babies often at night where they jump around in the trees and hard to get them to sit still. Well, it's exactly the same with these curricane thrushes. Not often do they sit still long enough for you to actually watch him. See, he's got an orange bill, quite a drab brown coloration on the back, a little bit of a flicky tail that it sort of bobs it up and down every now and then it's got an orange breast. And so quite indicative, but that call is an immediate giveaway. See, also bare legs, and they're also quite orange. And there you can see a little bit of its orange breast now, and a little bit of a white streak on its wings as well. And there he's just fluffing himself out a bit, still trying to keep warm. And wisteria, you say it's so puffy. Yes, absolutely. It's, as I say, warming up nicely now from a very chilly start. So a lot of these birds just enjoying this warmth that's coming through now. Get themselves nicely warmed up before they head off on their foraging mission for the rest of the morning. And while they're warming themselves up, very often doing a bit of calling at the same time. And I would say killing two birds with one stone, but that just wouldn't be cool, would it? Not so funny. Yeah, so as I say, sitting with a curricane thrush, always difficult to get them on the camera, but always nice when we can. And that's in a russet bush willow. Yeah, with Easium Keezy on the lens, he's got the stabilizer going, so nice and well done. In a russet bush willow, perfect little sighting of a curricane thrush. So it's been a magical morning, I would say, following the tracks of Hosana initially, and then just catching up with three cats. Well, we definitely first were around three cats. Two of them disappeared. Hosana, obviously, as his nature suggests, he just went, yeah, well, okay, cool, whatever, man, and just laid down. And the other two, a little bit more nervous. I think Tundi took Tlalamba and said, we're out of here. There's humans on foot here, so we'll get out of there. And I'm sure that we'll be able to find them a little bit later, maybe with the vehicle. But we're going to start heading back towards camp. It's heading towards breakfast, and but you've still got some leopard action to continue with.
Indeed, so Hosana has woken up and come out into the open to show us just how beautiful he actually is. He's really looking fantastically good. He's in perfect condition. There's no sign of any scratches or bumps or scrapes from last night, so his face looks perfect, his body's good, he's not walking with any limps, so that's all good news. Hopefully Tundi would be the same. I would imagine so. I mean, if the two of them did actually fight, you would find that Hosana would definitely have had some scratches on his face, and he doesn't have anything, so that's all good news. Means that the Tundi and Tlalamba are probably just fine. Obviously, we had their tracks going away from this area, so that's all good news. Sarah, no, I've yet to see Hosana Saw. I don't think he is, and I mean we've spent quite a bit of time with him. But you see how he's smelling. I wonder if he's not picking up the scent of Tundi and Tlalamba. The last time I saw their tracks was going down below, so not up on this side of the bank, but they were in this drainage line going southwards, and so I wonder if that's what he's smelling, or he's picked up something else. Look at how his tail is twitching. So he's got a situation where his tail is twitching a little bit, and that's normally an indication that he's spotted something. So I wonder if there isn't maybe a little duiker or something in the area that he's looking around for as he kind of moves slowly forward. Such an epic little cat, this. He really is good to us. He's spoiled us massively over the course of the last few weeks, and well, in fact, last few years. He went away for a couple months, but he's really spoiled us before that, as well as when he's now come back. So it's going to be interesting to see if he sticks around. He's heading the wrong way now for the dam. He's going southwards at the moment, but you never know with him. He might have a situation where he actually starts to turn and goes back up north towards the dam itself. But he's now decided he's going to hide just behind the sort of end part of that tree. He's going to try and just kind of watch whatever he's watching from there with his little tail wagging. Very cool to see. I love watching a leopard's tail. They're very, very, very pretty little tails that they've got. And now, of course, he's going to go right behind. Anyway, as Steve mentioned, it is that time of the day where we are going to be heading back for breakfast, all of us. And so I think Steve and Ralph are already on their way there. But myself and Dave, well, I think I might just hang around with Hosana a little bit longer and see where he goes, but the rest of us will be heading back, and so it's been an absolute pleasure this morning, and we'll see you all this afternoon on the Sunset Safari.